Knilly and Pb podcast. In this weekly series, we're reading Twilight, New Moon, because Knilly's never read it and Pb wants to send memes. I'm Knilly.
I'm Pb.
And Pb's about to laugh, and it's going to be very funny. I don't know what she's giggling about. But this week, we're covering the end of New Moon. Chapters 23. I think it's just 23, 24 in a prologue, I believe. I don't remember. I just kind of read it all this morning. Is it just 23 in a prologue? Oh, yeah, no, 23, 24 in a prologue.
Epilogue?
Epilogue, sorry. Yeah, those words. Those are the words. That means the thing at the end of the book that's not necessarily a chapter. Even though it's like a chapter. Where did that come from? Why can't we just call it chapter 25? Is it just that we want to let people know that, like, this is, like, the end?
Yeah, it's like in conclusion.
Oh, sure. I guess if you're going to go by, like, paragraph structure and all of that. So.
I mean, if we're discussing this in book terms, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yup. Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
How are you doing, Pb?
I'm doing well. I'm doing good.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, you know. It's, what is it, day 3 of the new year? I don't even know. Day 4 of the new year? Day 4 of the new year.
It's been a long year.
It's too long. Give me 2024. To all the listeners that are listening, rather, currently, Happy New Year to y'all. If you're listening to this many weeks, months, years later, cool. Happy you're here and listening.
Happy New Year to you in the future.
Yep. Some quick housekeeping before we get into it. So this is the last episode for New Moon. We are taking approximately like a 3-week month break. We are slated to start the next book the first week of February 2023, which is legit the first. But follow me, Pb, on the socials, specifically Twitter right now, to figure out if that's changing. Or you can jump into Discord, where we'll also be posting announcements and stuff like that. And you can find the link to the Discord in the description. So yeah, we're going on a little bit of a break. A, take a break, and, you know, it's good. B, life stuff, and yeah, all that jazz. So don't worry, it won't be too long, but you know, all of that.
Also, if you're here watching us live or even after the fact, if there is any moment during the podcast that you thought was especially funny, was especially interesting, feel free to either give us like the time stamp or the clip if you're here on Twitch, because, you know, I don't know, maybe you might see some clips in places like Shorts or, you know, maybe even TikTok. Who knows?
Who's to say?
But if you think something's especially funny, especially cool, make sure to let us know. And that way we can do some pretty fun stuff in the future.
Yeah, I like to think that Pb and I are pretty funny.
So do I.
You think we're funny here? You should also watch both of us play video games together. So follow us both on Twitch if you're into that.
Yep.
Oh
my god.
Yeah.
Chapter 23.
Chapter 23. The truth.
The truth.
This. You know what? Before we start here, before we start diving into the chapter itself, let me say, disappointed in this ending. Do not like that. Like, this ending of this book is so boring. Like, I didn't get my wish from, like I mentioned the last episode. Yeah, we pretty much like break up with Jacob, even though we kind of make a vow to not break up with Jacob, kind of. And I was very sad about it. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like, you know, it boils down to this all could have been.
Yeah.
This all could have been resolved if these had better communication skills.
I would like to say, I think Bella has phenomenal communication skills for what she does. She has made it so unbelievably clear to Jacob that she is not interested in a relationship. Jacob fucking Black refuses to take that as fact. He's like, no, I can make you love me. It's fine.
I'm not even
With
just
enough
talking about
time,
Jacob,
you'll love me.
though. Like
Edward too. Edward can go fuck himself. He
like,
literally
men.
Yeah, men in general. Like fuck them.
So that's just like I don't know if it's a hot take because it kind of like we had like such an exciting last bit of chapters that this just kind of like crash landed for me. I did not like the ending. Is it fine setup for Eclipse? Sure. Fine. It's fine. We're going to now explore like the ending of like, not the ending, but now we're going to actually get into the vampire werewolf conflict in the next book. So that's fine. That is like that. Okay, end of podcast. That's all I gotta say. See ya. No, but I guess how we get there is very funny because this chapter called The Truth is just kind of like the TLDR is like, yeah, it's a big misunderstanding. I actually love you so much and I hated that I did it that way and it sucks. It sucked for both of us.
It wasn't even a misunderstanding. It was Edward was just like, no, yeah, I lied to you. But I mean, before we get to that,
sure.
This is our first chapter back. Bella wakes up after Italy. She slept apparently like 14 hours. She wakes up to Edward just like, petting her hair. And just like chilling, so much so that Bella is like, nah, this is what's happening here. This is a dream. This is a dream.
Yeah.
This is a dream. And please stop telling me all these beautiful things because it's gonna fucking hurt when you leave again. Mm-hmm. And Edward's like, no, I love you so much. And Bella's like, no, you don't. And he's like, no, yes, I do. Bella's like, no. You're just another hallucination. He's like, no, Bella, I do a lot. I love you a lot. And it's like, no, you don't. It's like, yes, I do. Also, Charlie pissed.
Oh my God,
Charlie big angry.
So pissed. I mean, rightfully so, I think. Like, dude who broke his daughter's heart is back in town and like getting all up in their business. Bella disappears for 3 days, no calls, just a vague ass note, fucking across the world. And then she comes back tired as shit. Like,
yeah. It's like, I've never empathized more with an adult in a book in my entire life. Yeah. I would be beside. I think Charlie taking this really with stride. He's doing like really well with how he's dealing with the situation.
Oh yeah.
Because I would be so upset, but also at the same time, obviously I'm with Bella because I understand the whole context of the story. But like there's a moment where Bella's like, I'm going to have a few words with my father because perhaps it would be a good time to remind him that I was over the legal age of adulthood. And I'm just like, can you imagine being a person of color and telling that to your parents or an immigrant?
Oh my God, like
never. I would already been dead a million times over. If not by my own guilt, but by my parents murdering me. If I did any of the bullshit Bella did.
For sure. And I think I did this like once. And not even via voice. I did it once because this is my like nerdy ass goody two shoe shit. I wanted to get into the high school theater, but it had after school stuff, and my parents wouldn't really let me do anything else aside from sports. And I didn't really want to do like aside from tennis anything else. And like they didn't really see like the value in it, right? It's like studies. So the thing is, I just stayed after one day. I figured out like the after school bus schedule, but that morning, because most of my parents went to work, I left a long ass fucking note being like, I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm taking a bus home / catching a ride. I'm here like at school. So A, don't worry about me. B, I'm gonna do what I want. And this was like my sophomore year of high school too.
Yeah.
So like, and when I came home, my mom was like miffed. But when she saw that I got home, like, she was like, okay. So like, it was fine. And like, I don't think they were like happy about it. But they were just like, all right, whatever. You're home safe. And I guess it's at school. Like, there's definitely worse things I could have been doing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, like, but even like something like as innocuous as doing your freaking school play.
Yeah. It's no, because Sam, I was in band growing up in high school. And that meant that there was just a lot of time I spent after school every day. And but like even then, even in middle school, I spent most of my weekends off doing something for school. So I think very early on, I just trained my parents to just like let me, that I was probably going to be staying after school. Whether I actually was staying after school for an activity or just to hang out with friends, who's to say?
Yeah.
But I was probably staying after for something or other. And one time, my grades were slipping a little bit for reasons other than the fact that I was in a bunch of extracurricular activities. And my mom was upsetty spaghetti. And she's like, it's because of all that time you spend in band and blah, 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 blah. And if you weren't in band, you'd be spending more time in your studies and blah, 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 blah. And there's just no way she would ever understand that band was like a reason I was pretty stable in my life. Yeah. And if you took me out of that, like my life would destabilize so dramatically.
For sure.
And so that was the one and only time that I like got in like a mild argument with my mother because of it. Because I'm just like, no, like you can't, like it doesn't matter what you do, what you say. I'm still going to be in band. Like if you take me out, it doesn't matter. I'll just go back. There's nothing you can do to stop me, blah, 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 blah. Like I have friends who live in the neighborhood that can bring me home after anything with band, et cetera, et cetera. And she eventually like got the gist. But I think she was too shell shocked by the fact that I said anything back. For sure. That she really went into it.
I think on the flip side, I think like also like at a certain point, since our like both of our parents have like come here and then they realize once you like say something like that, I think they're like, oh, they actually like really care about it enough to defy me. At least I'll give them leeway,
Yeah.
And at least it's for also again something as like again, there's way worse things we could have been doing as high schoolers.
Yeah, no. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
like talking about it now, I'm just like, God, that's so nerdy. I'm such a nerd for being like, I want to be in band, Mom.
It did kind of help pave a little bit when I started driving to school so that I could like essentially I could probably get away with like, I'd be like, oh, I'm after school for like being in the art room, and as long as I was home before my parents, I think it was chill. And I didn't have to be completely like this today, so I'm going to this thing or whatever. But like, would I always be at the art room? No, I'd probably be driving to like other areas, but they thought I would be at school. Like, and they probably guessed it too. I had a car. I'm mobile now, so
I can be mobily defiant now.
Yeah. But just like the way, like the thing is that stuff carries too, though. Like it carried through for me into like college a little bit. Freaking like, or like post college. When I said I was moving in my significant other at the time, my parents, very Catholic. They were pissed, but I'm like, you can't do anything about this because I'm paying for it. Like, and I think that's really what like, oh, right. Okay. And then they kind of like got it. Like, yeah, your money's not your roof. Under your roof, we're not going to be like, canoodling. Like, that's fine. Like, but it's my roof now. My rented 1-term year lease roof.
It is my 20 square foot box that I pay for, Mom.
That I pay for my money. But like that was like legit, like right, like that was after I graduated college.
Yeah.
And I had been living for a year on my own after college, and it was like the next year when I decided to move in, like 2 years removed from college, and they were still like, how dare you? I'm like
it's like you're just like always a kid to your parents until they realize you are no longer a kid,
until you have money, like, your own money.
It's like they have to have that self-realization of just like, oh, right, you are your own human.
Yeah.
That I have no say in. It is a luxury that I have a say in this in this person's life.
Yeah.
But
is it still rough in some certain aspects? Yeah. Like, but there's some things that I'm not willing, like, I don't want to spend the energy like fighting on, right? Like, yeah,
no,
okay,
you pick
it's
and choose
Sunday
your
and I'll
battles.
go to church with you. I don't go to church normally, but I'll go to church with you. It makes you happy. It's fine. It's like, what, a half hour out of my day? An hour out of my day? Like, it's fine. Like that kind of
It's
stuff.
compromise.
Exactly. So, you know, give and take. I've learned to live. We've learned to live and appreciate what our parents have done, but also still like, hey, we have to unpack some generational trauma.
Exactly. Which is something we could talk about in the next chapter.
Oh my
but
God.
for this chapter,
yeah. Ooh, a little bit of tangent. Related tangent, though. We feel for Charlie, is what we're saying.
Yeah, I feel for Charlie. I felt so bad for Charlie. Charlie's not my favorite person in the world, but like, I felt bad.
I mean, yeah, I would be equally as mad if Bella actually had other friends aside from Jacob and Edward, and I was like her best friend, and she came back from like you didn't send me a text or anything, like that kind of shit. If you disappeared off the face of the earth, PB, for 3 days, I'd be so mad at you, and you came back and you were like fucked up. I'd be so mad, and I'm not even in the same state as you. Like that's like I feel that even from like a friend level, and not even just like a parental level.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. But so Edward comes in and he's like, again, Bella doesn't believe him. And Edward starts off with just like, I'm so sorry for leaving you here in Forks with Victoria hunting you. If I had realized, I would have never done it. I didn't realize she was so in love and so tied to James because I was too busy listening to James when they were here. And
she was so like, sure of James.
Yeah, James. And then he's like, I'm so sorry that I left you with Victoria. And then worse, almost, and only a little worse, I left you here with werewolves, immature, volatile werewolves out here. And then I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And all of a sudden I remembered who Edward was. Really, it's kind of phenomenal how well some of these characters are written in as how they are, their personality types. Because I immediately, as Edward started saying that, it's like the entirety of New Moon had never happened. I was right back with Edward in Eclipse and just annoyed with how he is. I was like, oh, right. This is who you are. I never forgot. Yeah, but like, I did have a blissful vacation from you.
Right? Like, and the thing is, because like Bella also, you get kind of a little skewed and biased because Bella finds his voice, she over romanticizes him, I think sometimes, especially in his disappearance, because she's trying to grasp onto his memory. And so that really like clouded it. And so like him talking like this, like, I'm like, oh, fuck, man. Damn it.
No, yeah, absolutely. Because you're just like, because the other thing is it's so sincere, right? Yeah. Like he means it. And I think that's the worst part of it. Because it very much reflects real life. Whenever you, not so much like the content of what they're saying, but like the method of saying it, when you're like teetering on that edge of like breaking up, or like you guys have kind of been like not in a great place in a relationship. Yeah. And then, the make or break happens and you've basically, spoiler alert, a lot of people in relationships break up with somebody before they actually break up with someone. Mm-hmm. It's like quiet quitting a relationship, and
truly.
And Bella, and for Bella, it felt like that's what Edward had done, right? Like going back as she was in her catatonic state, she was like going back and being like, oh no, yeah, he had been distant for a while and I already knew this was going to happen. And then it finally happened. And now you're here telling me that's all a lie. Like, I can't believe that. I'm not going to believe you. Why would I believe you? Yeah. And she says, God, there's even a moment where Bella, because Bella, God bless Bella. She is still in this place where she's just like, he taking everything he said for face value, no matter what he says. Right. It's like, oh no, he never loved me, or he only loved me, conditionally for a little bit. This was something that was never going to last. But she like loves him so much that she's just like, you know what? He should be happy no matter what it cost me. So instead of continuing to be like, yeah, you did do this, It's like, no, let me go. Be guilt-free. No matter what happens to me, it's fine. It's not your fault. And honestly, as much as I don't like Edward, I do empathize with him a little bit with his absolute just incredulous expressions throughout this entire thing. Because he's like, what do you mean? You think I went to the Volturi to die because I felt guilty? It's like, yeah, sure, I felt guilty, of course, because you were dead. But like, it's because I didn't want to live anymore without you, Bella. That's why I went to go do it. And Bella's like, and Bella's just like, oh man, what a nice friend. Is basically what I'm gathering what she's saying. It's like, oh, that's really nice to say. But like, it's fine, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
It's not your fault, but it is my fault that I did it to you, and therefore it's regret, but also a little bit of guilt, but also I just love you.
Yeah. And Bella's just, I can visualize this moment so perfectly of just Bella just like confusion. Like she so much does not believe the situation she's in that Edward could ever love her that she's like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? And Edward's just like, I don't know how else to put it to you. I did this because I loved you and I'm miserable without you. And my favorite thing was just was the throwback to Romeo and Juliet, where Edward's like, the odds are always stacked against us. Mistake after mistake. I'll never criticize Romeo again.
Yep.
I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
And that bitch drew the literary allegories into his own life, and he's like, F.
Yeah, he's like, God damn, you know what? Maybe these Greek tragedies and Shakespearean tragedies, you know, maybe they have a...
Yeah, there's value. It's like history repeats itself, and like... I'm the modern Romeo, it's me. You know, he would probably say that. He's fucking egotistical piece of shit. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. And then... Go ahead.
No, keep going.
And then Edward continues on afterwards in the same breath of being just like, I love you. I'm like, I lied through my teeth. I was, you know, waiting to lie through my teeth for hours in agony to get you to like, believe me that I no longer wanted you and stuff like that. But then I said one thing and all of a sudden you completely believed me in that 1 second. And like, I'm so sorry I hurt you. And I'm so sorry that I put us through this and that I couldn't protect you from me. And that I lied to save you and it didn't work and I'm sorry. But like, how could you believe me? After the thousands of times I've told you I love you, how could you let just one word break your faith in me? I could see it in your eyes that you honestly believe that I didn't want you anymore. That's the most absurd, ridiculous concept, as if there were any way I could exist without needing you. And it's like, Bella, what were you thinking? And then Bella starts crying.
Like, damn, lay on thick, my guy. Like,
I'm like, Edward, how dare you immediately turn around and blame Bella for what you did? Like, what do you think she was gonna do? You know, like,
if anything, she believed you the first, like believing you the first time is honestly like expedient and doesn't like less stressful in a way instead of trying to convince her that you don't like, you were breaking up with her. And like the amount of times in so many relationships when people are like breaking up with each other and people are like, no, you're not. Like, that's not happening. Like the fact that like you didn't have that happen, like this could have been way weirder.
And it's just, oh my God. And then like, it's also the way that Edward never believed in Bella's insecurities during their relationship, which I'm pretty sure Bella has voiced before in Twilight, where because she follows that up with saying like, it never made sense for you to love me. I always knew that. And I'm just like, that's fucking heartbreaking. That's like, it's a thing like for Bella to love someone so much with like her entire heart that when they broke up, when they left, she felt no longer whole, you know? She felt empty on the inside and so hollow and broken and agonized that for her at the same time to turn around and believe that that person could easily leave in any moment because there's no way that they could love her as much as she loves them. I'm just like, damn, Bella. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's distraught. I'm distraught for you.
You know what my favorite thing during this conversation was though? Like I kind of like there's a lot of like all of that we were just going through, but there's like a little bit of like the joking here and there because like I'm someone who like peppers in like lighthearted moments in serious conversations like this just because like
Yeah.
I need it for my nerves personally. But I also just love like Edward dropping like, oh yeah, all that stuff was underneath your floorboards, by the way.
Yeah, she was
The
just
photos, the CDs, anything. I was like, yeah, I was all in your house the whole time.
It's like I couldn't take that away from you, but like also you shouldn't have to remember it.
Yeah.
So I just put it on your floorboards. I knew that. I knew that they were down there. Because I've read this before.
Mhm.
But which is why I was never at any point I was not concerned about those items because I'm like, oh, they're fine. They're safe down there.
Yeah.
There was moments where you were describing it that like I was a little confused because I forgot we hadn't gone through that yet where we discovered that they were fine. Where you were, I think you said something about like, yeah, and like Edward destroying the things that like he got her or that reminded her of Bella or something like that.
Or like taking him away or some shit like that.
Yeah, there was I was like confused. There was like a moment of like confusion. I didn't say anything, but I was like, he didn't do that.
Yeah. But then also like, oh wait, we didn't actually even talk about he didn't say anything yet because he hasn't been here for a good, 3/4 of this fucking book.
Yeah. Almost like what? Oh my god. What was it? Like 6-7 months he's been gone? Almost a year? I don't really remember at this point.
It's almost a year, I think, because she was in in her like catatonic state for like 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And then it had you know what? It might almost be like 7, 8.
Yeah, we've had some
because the Jacob hangouts have been a long time.
Yeah, and we did hit a 6-month mark somewhere in the book that they talked about specifically.
Yeah.
So it's been a good long while.
Yeah, I would say it's almost a year.
Yeah. And like which is why I'm just like good for Bella for just like being able to function that long.
Yeah.
Because we go over back to Edward, who's just like, you're stronger than I am because I straight up was not okay. I was not okay at all this entire time. So when you were gone, it was like my entire life plunged into darkness once more. And we find out what Edward was doing this entire time.
Worse than Bella.
Yeah, worse than Bella. And in his free time, hunting down Victoria and being really bad at it.
Yeah, he's like, wow, he's actually not good at something for once. He's like, yeah, I got her, like, I tracked her all the way to Texas and then I lost her and then I went to South America instead and I lost her and she went north instead.
It's just, and even he jokes about it. It's like, I wasn't even on the right continent.
Yeah.
Because like he said, yeah, I lost her in Texas and then I went to Brazil.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you know how far away Brazil is from Texas, let alone fucking Washington? Like,
for sure.
I cannot comprehend how you can be so bad at tracking someone down that you end up in South America instead of fucking the tippy top north of North America.
Right. I guess there's like give and take in some of these vampiric powers. Can read minds without touching people, but man, maybe with all that mind reading, he hasn't been honing his smell.
Yeah. Along with that, I'm sure that the absolute agony he was going through was not helping.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely distracted by his agony, woe, and other sad boyness.
My other, speaking about like funny moments, I also loved when Bella was just like, oh man, I have bigger problems than Victoria right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's true. The werewolves are a problem.
Yeah. And I'm like,
it's like, Edward, no, Jacob's not a problem.
Read the room. Oh my God.
It's like, my problems are a lot worse than a handful of adolescent wolves getting themselves into trouble, which I thought was the funniest thing she could have said about the pack. I'm just like, damn, tell me how you really feel about them.
Yeah.
It's like, and then it's just like, so the Volturi, and it's just like, I guess my second greatest enemy, my second biggest problem. And he's like, the Volturi are only your second biggest problem. And it isn't until later in the next chapter we find out what the first problem is. But I thought it was really funny
Yeah.
that it's just like, no, not the fucking werewolves, Edward. How many times do I gotta tell you?
Yeah.
It's not them.
Werewolves are friends, not foes.
Tell the werewolves that.
I know.
And it's the next part that I really enjoyed is we come back to really remembering Jake, Edward, and just like Edward's just like, no, it's like, it's fine. We'll find a way to keep you human until they won't worry about you until you're at least 30. And Bella's horrified.
Yeah.
30? No way. I mean, honestly, yeah, 30 with a 19-year-old. Come on.
Yeah. Don't worry, Bella. They're great. Your 30s are great.
Yeah, your 30s are great. But being that far away in age to Edward is a horrifying thought for our Bella. And so Bella, shout out to fucking Bella and her newfound independence, because Bella's just like, all right, I'm going. And Edward's like, where are you going? Because it's like
it's like 1 a.m.
hell early morning.
Yeah, like 1 or 2 in the morning.
And it's like, where are you going? And it's just like your house, the Cullens house. And it's like, and what car? And it's like, mine. It's like, well, Charlie's gonna be pissed at you when he hears the car. And he's like, you know what? He's already pissed enough. What's a little bit more? And Edward's like, why are we going? It's like, because the world doesn't, this isn't about you anymore.
Yeah.
You're not the center of the universe, you know? And I was like,
yeah, get it, girl.
You're right.
Yeah. It's not about like danger. This involves everybody now.
Yeah. And then what a like mic drop. My mortality, I'm putting it to a vote next chapter. I was like, damn. You tell him, Bella.
Tell him, Bella. Tell him, Bella. So yeah, she essentially is asking in the next chapter, which is called Vote, the entire family, their opinions on whether she and who essentially, but she's got Alice slated in her brain, should turn her, if she should turn. Oh
my God. Before we get to that, can I talk about the fan fiction section of this?
Oh, sure.
Chapter?
Yeah.
There was a moment in this while I was reading this where Bella's like, Bella's telling Edward that she could hear his voice when she was in danger or whatever, right? When she was hallucinating him. And I word for word, this is what Stephanie Meyer wrote. His words came out half strangled. You were risking your life to hear? And then she's like, shh. I interrupted him. Hold on a second. I think I'm having an epiphany here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way. There's zero. We talked about this in the first book and how I can find no evidence that this was a fan fiction beforehand. Nothing you can tell me, nothing you can say to me anymore to make me believe that either this was not a fan fiction to start with, or that Stephanie Meyer herself is not a fan fiction writer out there. Mm-hmm. She makes comments on just like, oh, I understand fan fiction, but like make your own fiction instead of writing fan fiction. I'm like, bitch, this is fan fiction.
Yeah.
Give me 5 minutes. I will find a fan fiction with that exact same sentence structure of a no one says half strangled in books. You know who says that? Fucking fan fiction writers with all these ellipses. I'm like, and it's like, shh. I'm having give me a second. Like,
I'm realizing I love you after all of this shit because I have to resolve this in 20 chapters or the comment section is gonna go wild.
And it's like, shh. It's like, let me realize you love me and I love you. And then, and my favorite part is that Bella goes into like her zone, right? And is like, oh, he loves me the same way I love him. There's no way that like, you know, maybe that's why I was hearing him, because he loved me so much. And it's just, and then she comes back into the moment and looks at Edward and is like, you love me? Edward's like,
no shit, yes. Sherlock.
Yeah. But like, doesn't question a damn thing, because they just like a kiss or whatever after the fact.
Yeah.
And and then they have this funny moment about like, you know, like I feel like a real loser for hearing your voice when I put myself in danger. And Edward's like, my experience, what I was going through, nah, you lived your life. I was the useless one. I was more pathetic than just hearing voices. And then he's like, and of course, you know, I do that too. Hearing voices. And I'm like, damn. That's a good way to break this.
break the tension. Little funny. Wow, our man is also a comedian. Did he pick that up in Brazil?
Oh my. Oh my gosh. And then we go into the Cullen's house and they call a meeting.
Yeah. It was just so fun. Like, I really like the observation. Like, oh, I guess I never really seen them use a dinner table before because they don't really need to use it, but we're using it now. But the gang's all here. We got Carlisle, we got Esme, we got Rosalie, we got the boys, we got Alice. It's like everyone's here. And it's almost like fun, like the way it sounds, especially after like she put her, like Bella was like, so this, you all know, but I'm assuming everyone knows what's going on. Great, we're on the same page. Yeah, so I want to become a vampire, but like, you know that he won't let me. So I'm gonna let you all vote and say like what you think because it involves everybody. But the way that then he responded, I'm like, are we in fucking debate club right now? Like, what mock trial nonsense? What in the mock trial are we doing right now? Like, am I at like Model UN? What's going on here?
Basically, it's like I can imagine everyone with their little like name plaque and their light. And
freaking like Rosalie and Jasper can have like a flag of like one of the countries from South Africa that they visited.
Oh my god, they have like the headphones that they use to hear what everyone's talking about.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. And so they put it to a vote after Edward puts his piece in of just like
we're gonna trap him. Like, wow, okay.
We're gonna trap him. We're gonna fuck him up. And Emmett's like, hell yeah. And Jasper's like, yeah. And I was like, that's a terrible idea.
Fucking
Bella's
dudes.
like, boys. And so they put it to a vote. Starting off with obviously Edward, who says, because Bella phrases it as, do you want me to be a part of your family? And Edward's like, no, not as a vampire, at least.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn. And Bella very much is like doing this very professionally, like, okay, moving on.
I know. Like I was like, okay, we are in Model UN, mock trial, like having a board meeting. Like it was a little jarring because it doesn't even really fit like the tone of anything that Stephanie's written before.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been anything so procedural due to the chaotic nature of these freaking cryptids that we're dealing with.
I think it also has to be such a weird experience for Bella, and I think it translates well because Bella is an only child and has only ever lived with one parent or the other. She is always a parent in the situation in either way. Yeah. So it's like she doesn't understand. Yeah, like the only thing she knows about a large gathering is probably some sort of debate, some sort of forum. Not really anything from experience. So that's probably where she's pulling it from. I'm just like, okay, we're going to do this professionally because I don't know any other way to do this. And she's like, okay, all right, Alice. And Alice is like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jasper's like, yes. And then Rosalie's like, no. And then she's like, whoa, because she's still trying to make amends here. It's like, it's not that I don't want you to be my sister, Bella. It's that I didn't want this life. Yeah. And I wish someone was there in my life to vote no. Yeah. And I was like, damn, Rosalie, you just dropped that on us. And then Bella's just going to very politely move on.
I know, right? Like, I was like so ready for us to explore that, at least like a little bit in Bella's mind. She's like, all right, next. And I'm like, damn, girl, she just poured like, that's a good chunk of her heart right there. She doesn't like being a vampire, but she lives in this world. And she doesn't want that for you as like a friend. Like, damn. Damn. You gotta disregard this girl. And this.
And not only that, her significant other, her husband, fucking Emmett, immediately after her is just like, hell yeah, we can figure out a way to fuck up Dimitri some other way. Yeah. It's like, I want you to be part of the family. I'm like, damn, Emmett, after your wife just said all that shit, jeez. Yep. Esme very kindly was like, yeah, absolutely, I already consider you family. And Bella's like, oh, thank you very much, Carlisle. Carl doesn't even say anything.
Yeah, Carl just looks at Edward. He's like, whatever he's voting, because I'm not gonna make him mad.
No,
right?
Carlisle.
He abstains.
Carlisle votes. It's like he says, like, you already know my answer.
Yeah,
because of the situation with Edward, because he's looking at Edward and Edward is reeling his mind. And it's like, look, it's the only way that makes sense. You chose her. You chose not to live without her, and this is the only way. You're not leaving me a choice here, Edward. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And Edward is always just pissed, and he like throws a hissy fit.
Yeah.
And as he like storms away, slamming doors.
Yeah.
Bella's just like, thank you guys so very much. I really appreciate this. I feel the same way about all of you, which she like feels a little bad about because like Rosalie is like, oh.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't mean that way, but she's not going to say that because she's like too worried about Edward fucking destroying the world.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yep. And it's like, all right, so who's going to do it right now? I'm like, bitch, hold on. Pump the brakes.
Yeah. I know. Alice is just like, whoa, I did not agree to this. It's like, I don't know if I can do
Alice,
this.
bite me. She's like, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Not right now. I don't know how to do this.
Like,
I'm not sure I can control myself.
Yeah.
Edward's like, whoa. No. Wait, hold on. Why we got to do this right now?
And then she's like, Carlisle's like, I can do it. I'll do it. And
he's
she's like,
like,
all right, right now. And he's like,
and Edward's like, think about Charlie and things. What is he gonna do if you don't show up there in the morning? And it's like he's gonna send out a search party or whatever. It's like let's wait until you graduate and you move out of Charlie's house. How about we do that? And Bella's like, yeah, give you enough time to like get out of this. And Edward's like, yeah, but like it's a good idea, isn't it?
And Carlisle's like, it is a good idea, Bella. And she's like, okay, fine. But she's like, Carlisle's like, on my word. So Carlisle has promised.
After the graduation, yeah. She's like, all right, after graduation, you promise? And Carlisle's like, yeah. And my favorite scene is this next one. As after Edward takes Bella home, back home before Charlie wakes up.
Yeah.
Is that he starts bartering with Bella. It's like, okay, all right, okay, Bella. What's the thing you want the most in the world? And she's like, you. Okay, yeah, that's cute, thank you. But like, what else?
You already got that one. Next.
Yeah. And she's like, I want you to turn me, not Carlisle. And Bella expects him to like really put up a fuss. And Bella's like, and he's like, okay, what are you willing to barter for that, essentially?
Yeah.
What's your what's your condition? And Bella's like, anything. And Edward's like, exactly what I wanted to hear. 5 years.
Yep.
And Bella's like, no, what? No, 5 years? Absolutely not. 6 months.
Yeah. Like, she's like 3,
and
1.
They go on and then they decide on like, okay, 1 year from now. And it's like, awesome. And then Edward's like, but I have one condition. And she's like, oh, come on. What's your marry me?
Yeah. Like,
and she's like, Edward, come on. Don't joke in a time like this. And Edward's like, no, I'm being serious. Marry
I'm legit
me.
proposing you to right now. Like you're ready to turn into a vampire, but you can't fucking believe that I am proposing to you. Do you need a fucking ring?
I know. He's like, I'm only 18. And Edward's like, yeah, and I'm 110. It's about time I settle down. And Bella's
I
like,
thought you were a legal adult, Bella.
Yeah, right? And it's like, look, marriage isn't exactly on my list of priorities right now. It was like sort of the kiss of death between Renee and Charlie.
No pun intended.
Edward's like, oh, interesting choice of words. It's like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's like, please don't tell me you're afraid of commitment.
I know. But I do kind of get like marriage not being at the top of her mind because marriage has just never done her any favors growing up. So like, I get that part of it. But to just like, yo, this bitch was about to like die for you because he fucking like regretted everything that he's done to you and hurt you, and then you've just been dreaming about this man's voice. Like, you're definitely already married. Like, you're already there mentally.
Not only that, she's talked about it. She talked about it in Twilight. She talked about how she was with him for the rest of his life. She was committing herself to him for the rest of her life so many times, and both in her mind and in like telling Edward, like, no, you're stuck with me. And I'm just like, what do you mean? And she's like, I'm afraid of Renee. And I'm like, you're afraid of Renee? And it's like, she has some really intense opinions on getting married before you're 30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? I get it, Renee. I'm 100% there kind of with you.
Yep.
But like, that's so funny. Edward's like, oh yeah, because she'd rather you become an eternal damned than get married.
Yeah.
And Bella's like, you think you're joking. And I'm like, damn. Oh my God. But Bella Parkins now 18. Okay. And she's like, okay, 18 months? And Edward's like, no, I love these conditions. No, 1 year and we get married.
Yeah. 1 year we get married and then I turn you into a vampire. There you go. You get what you want, I get what I want. Easy peasy.
Yeah. And Bella's still like sweating bullets out here. Edward's like, would it have gone better if I cut in rings? And she's like, no rings.
It's so funny.
It's
like,
so
damn.
ridiculous. All this before she talks to Charlie for the first time since coming back.
I know. So he like he sneakily gets her in the house. He does the cliche thing of hiding in the closet to like hang out. I have your high like he gets up and it's just kind of like, oh, you're awake, because I bet he was just trying to sneak in and see like her condition before like getting ready for work and all that. But I have your highlighted being like, because he's actually like, you're in deep trouble, blah blah blah. But she goes, look, Dad, I accept complete responsibility for my action. You have every right to ground me for as long as you want. I will do all the chores and laundry and dishes until you think I've learned my lesson. And I guess you're within your rights if you want to kick me out, but I won't. But won't make me go to Florida. First of all, she already does all the dishes, all the cooking, and the cleaning. So, bitch, that's not new.
Thank you. I wrote that. I have that in my notes. So I'm like, I will do all the chores and laundry and dishes. And I'm like, okay, Bella, do pray tell what chores you aren't doing right now.
Like, sure, you missed a few while you were gone. But again, Charlie has managed a modicum of like, I live here. But like, you've been doing everything, girl. Staying at home, that's going to end up being your punishment, because it's the only thing Charlie can do to you.
I know. I'm just like, I wonder if that's just her being a little manipulative in the situation of being just like,
oh yeah, like you do have control here.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'll do all the chores and things, make it seem like a bigger punishment, as if I'm not already doing that.
Yeah. I totally would play that card personally.
No, but that's absolutely, I think, what she's doing in this situation. But I wrote that down too. I was like, come on.
Yeah, because Charlie has threatened to ship her to Florida to be with her mom because of all the nonsense that's been going on.
And I'm like, it is literally months away, like 2 months, maybe 3 months away from graduation. Like, chill out, Charlie.
Yeah. He does also explain how he's feeling, which we've already been over about, like, you didn't say anything. Jacob had to tell me everything, blah, blah, blah. And then she has to, like, come up with a lie as to what happened. And she kind of, like, tells the truth, but not the whole truth. She does mistakenly add the motorcycle in, and he's like, you what?
The cliff diving, not the motorcycle.
Sorry, the cliff diving. The motorcycle's for later, sorry. The cliff diving. But he's like, but she played it off so I was like, the little push kids do it all the time. I was just, we were all hanging out, And it was just like, yeah. And then the only thing that left out that I would be confused with Charlie, but how did Alice find out? That's the one missing thread.
It's like, I don't know. Well, because I have to assume that because Charlie doesn't know the dynamics of the kids in the high school, maybe Alice has friends who knew what Bella did. And and one of them told her.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the only thing. Like, because it's a small town, right? Word gets around about anything and everything. So I have to assume that's why he didn't really think anything. But I thought the same thing. I was like, how did Alice know? But you know what? I'm not going to ask any questions.
Yeah, we're near the end of this book. It'll be fine. He only believes a third of that anyway because he's still mad he's just mad. Like, Charlie's face is a strange shade of purple.
Yeah, because she says that, but you have to understand that Edward and I are
a package.
are a package. If you don't allow him here, I'm leaving. I'm moving out. And it's like, it's easy as that. And Charlie is so upset he's spaghetti, and she's like, I need you to understand that this is just how it is. And,
yep. She's like, I'm moving out in a bit anyway, so like
yeah. It's like, I'm already 18. I'm legal, like I can move out if I want to. I have a place to stay. And then Charlie walks out and Edward comes out again from the closet. And it's like, oh yeah, where would you go? And she's like, well, I'm assuming you guys would have me, would you not?
Yeah.
And then the last words they say in the chapter, I think, is like,
the whole realization of like, because like he continues to harp on her about like, you're not like, I don't want to turn you into a vampire because like I don't know, your soul is damned. But she's like, you don't believe that anymore. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I heard you. You said Carlisle was right. Amazing Carlisle. And that's like one of the few times I believe that like Edward truly let it be known that she like turned the tables on him in that moment. Like, oh fuck, that's right. And she's kind of right. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like he truly shocked him. Like I don't think he's ever truly been shocked before, aside from like how much danger that Bella can get in.
Yeah, because like I wonder if the reason that he harps so much on Bella being like keeping her soul and being human and having that choice of like all these human experiences that she has yet to have. I wonder if some of that harping comes from the fact that he can't read her mind. Yeah. He knows everything about everyone else in the world. He knows every wish, every desire, every moment that they think about anything, you know? Yeah. He knows it if he wants to, right? He can like track the projection of where people's lives are going to go based on what they think and what they want. Yeah. Because that's just what, you know. Yeah, and he's like
superimposing that on like Bella as like an American teenager.
And like, because he doesn't know anything about what Bella wants except what she tells him. Mm-hmm. And God forbid she's truthful when she's talking to him. He's like, I can't truly know if this is what you really want or you're doing this because of me. And it's like he's having to live the experience of just any normal person who has to read a person instead of reading their mind. And so I wonder if that's just from him being like, I want you to have these experiences because I don't know if you are just saying this, if you think that this is what you want, it's like, I don't know. And that makes me nervous. And therefore, and also like, I believe that we're monsters and I don't want you to also be a monster. But I think a lot of it might come from just his insecurity with not knowing what she wants in life. For sure. And also his insecurity of not believing that she wants him for the rest of their lives. Yeah. But yeah, it ends with it's like, well, let's just both be hopeful, right? Yeah. And let's just hope because like we've made deals and promises now, so we're gonna hold each other to it. Like that, like that's what's happening. At least for the most part. At least that's what we think is happening. Yeah. Go ahead. No, you. I was gonna say, they say it's not that it matters if you say I don't need heaven, and he's like forever, and it's like that's all I'm asking for, and I was like, damn. Yep, little like very straightforward to the point. Just want to be with each other. Cute. The epilogue is called Treaty. That's where we're. This is the last chapter of the book. Bella's been grounded for who knows how long. And we kind of like review like, oh, everyone in Forks is happy to have Carlisle back. The Cullens are back. Hooray. Obviously Charlie wasn't happy that Edward's back, but like is allowing Edward to come in, but during as she puts it, visiting hours because she's grounded. She's only allowed to go to work and school and all that stuff. One day, like, and during this time, Bella has tried to contact Jacob. She's tried so much. And I think there's like a quote here. It's like, Billy said he didn't want to talk to me. At least sometimes Billy would lie and then like not say anything. And then like, at least it was like I knew, but it was like, you know, not like straight up. And now my feelings are actually hurt. Like, yeah, it's like, it's just rude. That's what he's being. He's being rude. Yeah. So that like there's been like no contact for, I don't even know how long it's been. It can't be more than like a month. Edward's also been trying to make sure that she's applying to colleges because she's missed a few deadlines. But they're all gonna go to bed. And Edward's back in school. Like everything's back to the beginning of the book, essentially. And they're talking about it all. And there's a moment where they're talking about Jacob when she's ranting about, you know, that Jacob was being rude. And Edward's like, oh yeah, it's just like I I'm glad that it didn't have to come to blows because I didn't want to kill him. And Bella's like, kill him? And it's like, well, I would have tried really hard not to kill him. It's like, you would have killed him is where she like kind of gets stuck on.
Yeah.
And she has a moment where she remembers what happens to Paris in Romeo and Juliet when Romeo came back. And she's like, the stage directions were simple. They fight, Paris falls. And she's like, oh, no, I can't want
let this happen. No. But yeah, they fight Paris falls, and it's just like it's just so funny that they're like talking about this. Then they start rolling back up to the house after like school one day. There's a motorcycle in the driveway.
And Bella
nice motorcycle
is betrayed. She feels betrayal deep in her heart. She's like, I can't believe Jacob would do this. Like, I knew we were in a rough spot, but I thought the foundation of our relationship would stay the same. You know, like no matter where we were fighting, how we were fighting, like there were basic tenets of this friendship that I thought were going to stay the same. And I did not think that he would betray me on such a level. And I was like, damn, Bella, this is where you feel betrayed, the motorcycle?
Yeah.
It's like, Charlie's gonna be so pissed. And Edward's like, Charlie's gonna kill you. I mean, not literally, but like,
he's gonna brick the door
thinking
closed,
about it.
Yeah. Like, you're not gonna leave ever again. You're gonna be stuck inside that house. But he does manage to hear Jacob's mind be like, oh, he does want to at least talk though. And so they end up going to like the woods behind the house or something to have a little chat.
Yeah. And they talk about, and Bella's like, I'm so pissed at you. Yeah. I can't believe you would bring the motorcycle. And Edward is basically having a conversation with the thoughts in Jacob's head.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, he wanted to do this because he wanted you to get grounded, so I couldn't come around anymore.
I'm already grounded.
It's like, why do you think I haven't been down to La Push to kick your ass or whatever?
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And it's like, yeah, he's surprised because he didn't realize that's the only reason you were down there. He thought I wasn't letting you down there. And Jacob's like, stop doing that.
Yeah. Stop it.
But he's there to be a liaison for the pack.
Yeah, no,
essentially.
I love this scene though as it goes on because we have like this frenetic conversation between Jacob's thoughts, Jacob, Bella, Edward, and then Charlie yelling in the background for Bella to get her ass in the house. So it's like 5 different things happening at once, but it just shows like the tense that increases like the weird like dining table conference was weird. But this was I like this scene a lot because it adds to like the tension and like how pressing the issues are between like Bella's human life, Bella's relationships, the treaty / tension between the vampires and werewolves, all in one like tangled yarn ball that is still like in a nice shape, but it's like tangled and you hate it, but also you're ready to untangle it and like figure out what's gonna happen. Like I said in the beginning of this, I didn't like the ending of this book. I really do like this scene though. Because of the way it builds tension with the chaos.
Yeah.
Because like, it almost feels like a scrap when they're not fighting.
Yeah, exactly. Because Jacob very clearly doing his best to keep control of himself throughout this, and exemplified by the fact he stays human the entire time. But Edward is so mistrusting of the werewolves, and I think for good reasons. I think they all have a pretty good reason to be distrustful of
each other,
and also just werewolves.
Yeah.
Because what they know about them is that they are volatile. It's how they've been described, right? Mm. Is that they at any moment can lose control of themselves and burst into a large werewolf, a large wolf. And that's, as we've seen, extremely dangerous, as exemplified by Emily earlier in the book. And it's like, so Edward is so protective of Bella. And also because I think if he becomes a wolf, I don't think there's anything stopping him from attacking Edward at that point. I think once he loses that ounce of control, Edward is going to have to deal with the situation. And then that becomes dangerous, both for his identity, but also for Bella, because he does not trust Because he doesn't know Jacob. He doesn't know Jacob, but even a little ounce. He only knows Jacob from what Alice experienced and also from this one little moment, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, and the fact that he told him.
Oh, and the dance that one time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Edward knows that like Jacob likes Bella, but that's, you know.
Yeah.
That's whatever. A lot of kids liked Bella when she came to school.
Yeah.
So he's just another one of those.
Jacob even goes like there's like a part where he's like really gripping, like white knuckle, like trying to keep control. And then Edward like really like puts himself in front, but Jacob manages to squeeze. I was like, I would never hurt her. Which I'm excited to kind of see that in the movie because I want to see how like what like Edward facial expression is there, because like Jacob, like as pointed out by his peers, Jacob is an impressive werewolf for his age as a werewolf, right? Like he has so much control.
Yeah.
So I wonder if like, because like it's not pointed out here if Edward's impressed or not, because he's just super distrusting. But I would love to see a little bit hint of like, okay, like you know, some machismo, you know, if we're gonna do the boys are boys thing, you know, a tiny little respect, you know,
it's like in that moment, there's that line that he says, like, I would never hurt you. And then there's a moment where in the book where Stephanie Meyer points out that both Bella and Edward take note of the word he said there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's when he says, I would never hurt you, do you think it's because he's pointing out to Edward that he's already hurt Bella? Or do you think that he's saying that because he's separating himself as Jacob human and Jacob wolf?
No, I definitely think it's the more like, I think it's more of like the spiteful, like I didn't hurt her or whatever kind of thing. But like, because he's done this before in the car, like he did, but in conversation with Bella, right? Like he's done that before. Like I've never hurt you or whatever. They've had this conversation before.
On the audacity. So there's that. Could you please repeat the last sentence you said?
No, I was saying that like Jacob has done this, said this to Bella before, like I would never hurt you, like he's hurt you or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's definitely more on that edge of it, because I think Jacob believes he's very much in control of his werewolf self when he is like, I think Jacob, like I know he's like struggling here, but I think because he doesn't actually turn in this scene at all, like Jacob is like, again, he's like a prodigy essentially, right? And I think he's so confident in like his feelings for Bella that he's definitely not going to let this ruin it for himself at the very least. And especially not to hurt Bella. I don't think he cares if he hurts Edward, obviously. But like obviously hurting Edward then therefore hurts Bella. So he's doing his best, and I give him kudos for that. So I definitely think it's more of like I'd never hurt her in spite, like because he's spiting Edward for hurting her emotionally.
Hurting her emotionally.
Yeah.
I like that. It's a tense moment between them, especially as we reach the end of the moment where Bella wants to like connect with Jacob, like physically, like touch him, hug him, do something to like comfort him in this moment. But Edward does not let her. Jacob or Edward pulls her behind her and is like, no. You know.
Yeah.
And Jacob's pissed. Jacob's like, let her, she wants to, you know. It's like she wants to do this. Yeah. And Edward's like, no, Bella.
All the while, don't. Charlie is being like, you get your ass
in here. Get your ass in here.
He does the full name, Isabella Swan.
You have 1 minute to get in here. And
I see his car.
It's like, I know you're out there. You have 1 minute. Yeah. And Bella's just like, no, come on. It's like he's
Jacob.
Charlie
he's my friend.
Charlie will be out here. And it's just like, no. And then he like gets angry. And Jacob gets angry. And he, as always, with a dark scowl and a bitter face, crumbles and he walks away. Oh, the most important part of the scene is that Jacob reminds them that
they're always friends.
That's really cute. I was gonna say the fact that if the Cullens bite a human,
Oh, that's
that
right.
breaks the treaty.
Not turn, just bite.
Yeah, it's not kill, it's not turn, but if you just simply bite a human, that takes off the treaty.
Yeah.
And that is where a lot of strife suddenly comes to Bella's life. I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, I forgot this aspect of my life here in Forks. That we are very close to La Push, where they have a mutual understanding.
And
so that's
Jacob
it's something that we're going to end up exploring when we get into the next book. But like, as she's like walking away, Bella also kind of makes like a silent vow to herself after seeing like Jake like really upset that like he wants to stay friends, right? Like he wants their friendship back. He just doesn't know how to no one knows how to navigate werewolf, friends with a human, dating a vampire, werewolf agent. Like no one knows how to navigate that shit. It's unprecedented. But Bella has kind of made like a vow to herself that she's going to try and make this work. She's like, I need everyone to be happy.
Yeah. I would like to see everyone happy in the situation.
Yeah, it's very hard right now to see it, which is why it takes a whole fucking book to.
Yeah, one book.
Yep, one whole, maybe three. We'll see. But that's kind of where we ended, right? Is there anything else you wanted to add about the last chapter?
It's we end off with Bella recounting what is coming, essentially, like what the issues in her life are now. It's Victoria is still out there. Jacob now considers her essentially an enemy. The Volturi are going to kill Bella if she doesn't turn into a vampire. Although Edward doesn't think that's such a big deal, that's still an issue for Bella.
Yeah.
And the Koyut Wolfpack would kill her and her family, her newfound family, if she does turn into a vampire. And Charlie is super pissed.
Charlie's just being a dad.
Honestly, probably the most scary thing to Bella in this immediate moment is Charlie being upset.
Yeah. As mad as he is, like he keeps yelling out the fucking door. And then she now has to figure out how to explain the fucking motorcycle.
Yeah.
Which is the one thing that we remember that like Charlie absolutely forbids her from doing. Like, like Charlie lets her have her independence, but it's like, you're not fucking doing motorcycles because I've seen too many accidents, which again, I get.
Yeah, it's unbelievably reasonable. It's such a reasonable moment.
Yeah.
And so, but she ends off with being like, so long as Edward is by her side, she can face anything.
Yeah.
So, it's really cute. It's a really fun, really nice way to like just, put the bow at the end to get started with the next chapter. And in the book, if you got it, Stephanie Meyer always puts a little excerpt for the next book in the book. So if you had it, you could read the first chapter essentially of Eclipse in it.
I just got the acknowledgements here where she thanks her brother again for all of the car stuff.
All the car stuff, and her brother and family, Jacob.
And finally thank the talented musicians who inspire me, like the band Muse. Also Linkin Park, Travis, Elbow, Coldplay, Marjorie Fair, My Chem, Brand New, and The Strokes. Man, this is my fucking playlist back in 20-aughts.
Yeah, Armor for the Sleep, The Arcade Fire, and The Fray, all helping her stave off that writer's block.
Yep.
Which, shout out to them. Otherwise, we wouldn't have
Twilight. All right. Let's do. I've been thinking we do. I know we usually do it for a chapter, but I feel like we should do L's and W's for the whole book.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't know. What would I make? You know what? My win. I'll do the chapters first. My win for the set of chapters. Rosalie had really dropped a really nice heartfelt bomb. Elta Bella's debate club.
Oh wow, you really hated that scene.
I hated it because it felt so not like it was like Stephanie Meyer's writing is sometimes like a little dry in spots. Like this felt drier than like the dry spots.
Yeah,
I just felt like dead skin peeling off my cheek.
How would you want the scene to go then, if not the way it was written?
I just don't want, like, I know like Bella's trying to be an adult, but I feel like, again, like we could have like zoomed in on like what Rosalie said, maybe a little bit more like I know like everyone's just like yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Like as like I would have liked a little bit of more like here is reason why. And like I also would have liked the plan to be a little bit more defined, but I also know that just kind of Edward thinking on the spot of like what we can do to like we can handle it. But yeah, I just would have liked a little bit, like it just really felt like yes, no, okay, moving on. Like I really wanted a little bit more exploration, especially like Rosalie's line and maybe something with like Carlisle or like an aside. Like I really wanted just a little something extra there. And so, because like I kind of breezed through the votes and I had to like double back and double check who voted what. Because I'm like, oh, that's it. Huh. Okay.
Well, because the thing is that this is Edward's decision. And I think they all kind of like accept that is. And the vote's kind of just like a complimentary thing of just like,
oh, for
I'm
sure.
going to say my part, but like anything I say is going to set off Edward. Me saying yes is going to make him angry.
Yeah, but I feel like then we also could have explored that too. Like, I feel like I felt like something was missing in this scene, and it could have really literally been anything. It could have been like I don't know, yeah, like someone being like maybe even if someone said like maybe Edward should leave the room and then we could talk about it. That would have been interesting. That would have been very interesting. So I just feel like the scene, like I get its purpose is just kind of like move it and like get to this point of like the marry me shit. But I don't know. It just felt like a little lacking. It is one of the biggest reasons why I don't like how this ended. Like this like felt really like flat for me. It was only saved by the epilogue scene, truly. Like that, it was like I didn't like it. But I'm not gonna be like this sucked. Like you know, like
yeah.
So yeah, I didn't like the ending. Overall, book's fine. Like really like the last scene with the frenetic energy, and then the previous scene, like it don't like the ending, the epilogue saved like this last chunk for me, or I would have not liked it as much at all. Even if we like, because I'm not someone to go goo goo gaga over like, oh my god, he's proposing. Like, man, fuck off.
Damn, you got him. So your W was
Rosalie for dropping, like being vulnerable, because she's usually a little bit of a hard ass too, you know, like she doesn't like play her like open face her hand a lot, so like I appreciate that. It was the only like redeeming thing about that scene, to be quite honest. For me. And then my L is the debate club.
My W is thinking about the entire book or entire section. Oh, there was one section I liked. It was the epiphany scene. I really liked the epiphany scene because it was so funny. I love W for Bella, I think. Because of her being just like, the world doesn't revolve around you, Edward.
Yeah.
You're not the center of the universe. And also her being like, shh, hold on a second. I'm having an epiphany here. Yeah. I just think that's so fucking funny. And my L is probably also Bella for just making me sit through her not understanding that Edward loves her. Although I completely understand the scenes, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
For on the outside, it's as frustrating as it always is when you're telling someone you like them or you love them or whatever, or you really care for them or they're great or whatever, and they're like, no, I'm not. You know, I'm none of those things. It's whatever. It's like, no, shut the fuck up. You're great. You're amazing. Like, believe that you are an amazing human being. Stop thinking you're not. It's so frustrating that you keep pushing back on my words when I'm telling you how I perceive you.
It's like that TikTok you sent me. So there's a TikTok PB sent me of like someone reacting to a sound that's kind of like dun dun, like it's like really like, oh no, like it's happening, of like my reaction when you realize a boy is saying they have a crush on you. It's like that, but instead of like the dun dun, it's like that spinning monkeys track, like doo 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 doo. And like she has no idea, like head empty, no thoughts.
Yup. So my W and L, I'm just doing it for Jacob's sake. My L is really Jacob, but like Jacob's gonna be my L a lot in the next book. So he needs not an L in this one.
Not an L, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Overall, the whole book, like, I think I said that this was gonna. No, I said the third book, right? That I said was gonna be my favorite because I was basing it on how my patterns of other reading young adult series. So
yeah.
But this second book, I don't know. I have to see. I definitely like the first book better. I don't know if I like, because like this one is just kind of like a lot of just like, oh my fucking God. For me personally, like I get it, but also, oh my God. But
like
I get
teenagers and emotions.
I know, exactly.
Yikes.
Yeah. I've been there. I don't need to be reading this again. Like, I don't need this mirror right now.
Yeah. Don't need this mirror right now.
Yeah. My
That's
book
funny.
win. I think overall, I you know what? I take this kind of jokingly. I don't know if it's a W, but I'm like, all right, Charlie, you did okay this book. Okay. Like it started off a little rough with the whole like your dog, like, but I also get that like you don't know what to do. You haven't been raising a kid. So you know what? He doesn't get a W, but he's like, I'm like, okay, I get it, Charlie. And you know
he
what?
moves up on your list.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Because I understand being the father of a daughter who is canoodling with vampires and werewolves. I get it. No, I don't actually, but also I get it.
Yep.
I think my big W though is definitely Alice, man. Like, you know what? She gets both because L's Rosalie again for the whole book because just that one little moment where she just misinterpreted it and then setting the whole Volturi thing, we wouldn't have a book. But like, you know, but it's that whole lead up of all of these dangerous things. And then Rosalie just does a misunderstanding. Granted, she also apologized. So she's kind of getting both. I think it's a neutral on both fronts. My W and L's end up canceling out, but it's Charlie and Rosalie. They get one of each. But like, they really stood out for me in this book, even though like Rosalie had like nothing aside from like 3 things that she did, 2 things even. And then Charlie is just like, oh man, dude, that's rough, buddy.
That's rough, bud.
Yeah.
I think my W for the whole book is going to be, I think my W for the whole book is Jacob pre-werewolf. Jacob pre-werewolf is probably my favorite version of Jacob. Even though he is unbelievably persistent and annoyingly so in pursuing Bella, he is going to be my L for the rest of the series. So it's poor boy, he needs a W.
Yeah, you gotta give him a handicap.
It's like he has to get a W at some point. And I really liked him pre-werewolf. In the same way that you don't like Harry in the 5th book because he's just angry all the time. That is me and Jacob. I hate Jacob because he's angry all the time. And also a lot of the actions he does in Eclipse. But in this book, once he becomes a werewolf, it's just like, it's obnoxious how he's just like grr all the time. I get it, it's a werewolf thing, whatever. That doesn't mean he changes his personality at all.
Yeah.
From just being grr angry.
Jacob angry.
Yeah, Jacob angry. I'm a werewolf now. And so he's pre-wolf Jacob is my W, and my L is going to be that's not a real L for the whole book. I was gonna say Texas to Brazil, but that's not a real L. That's really funny.
Oh my God.
I think my L is going to be the fact that the Quileutes change when there's more vampires in the vicinity. That's my big L. Like, RIP that, man. It sucks to suck.
Yep. And you think, like, especially because, like, the Cullens left, they'd be like, oh, we're in the fucking clear. Oh, no, there's someone who's actually actively being dangerous. Because, like, it kind of was chill because, like, the Cullens weren't doing anything, so that's why they had no need for it.
Yeah, exactly.
The treaty really kind of placated, like, the need for the supernatural phenomenon to happen. Then Victoria's in the fucking picture. So, You know what? L for Victoria, just because like she's still
L for Victoria for not getting resolution on this book.
Yeah, big L. But yeah. Anything else you wanted to bring mention, PB, before we like end the episode? Because man, what a book! An emotional journey.
Right? I did not. So Stephanie Myers does her outtakes for each of the books. I did not show any of the outtakes for this book because A, Stephanie Meyer didn't have a lot, but B, the only outtake really is the fact that Jacob was going to be different in this book. It was going to be a different take. Essentially, the book veered off in a different direction. So the original idea went this way, and that's the outtake, and then what happened is the other one. So that's why I didn't do any outtakes for this one, because that's basically the only one that's on there is the scene that veered off to the other side. Jacob was not going to be an important part of this book, and then she decided he would be. And the other thing is I still haven't sent Knilly a bunch of TikToks because most of them have to do with the movies.
Yeah.
They use the movies for a lot of them, and New Moon in particular has some very iconic moments for when it comes to memes. And so I haven't sent you any because of that.
That's fine. As a reminder, join us in the Discord. You know what? Definitely going to try and just do like the movie night in Discord sometime within this 3-week break. So we'll try and watch. We'll double feature, or one night we'll do Twilight and the second one we'll do New Moon. But be sure to join us in the Discord. Link is in the descriptions of wherever you're finding the podcast. Exclamation point Discord if you're in my Twitch chat. We updated the link last night. Thank you so much, Derek. Derek, godsend.
Shout out to Derek.
So yeah, that is pretty much it. So reminder, we're not starting Eclipse until February. But
if you are interested in starting, I don't have all the chapters out figured out yet. But our very first reading portion we're going to do is going to be chapters 1 through 3. So if you're interested in following us, those are going to be the first episode, February 1st, what we're going to be reading.
Yeah. And again, you can follow us on either of our socials. I'm Twitter /ClineAmb, ClineAmb. And then you can find PB at Twitter /PbPlaysInside. If she'll retweet my tweet, or one of us will tweet something about if the schedule does change for February 1st.
Yep.
We're currently still feeling some stuff out with other stuff other than the podcast. But you can also find updates in the Discord, and PB also will probably post a full schedule of our readings when she finishes figuring that out. Which, no pressure, obviously, but we already have the first set. 1 through 3 is fine. What else? I don't really think there is too much else aside from like yeah, I mean, that was this is definitely not going to be in this might be the bottom. I can feel this already being my least favorite book. I can already feel it. But obviously a weirdly necessary one to get us into more trouble.
Yep. I don't know. I definitely like New Moon more than I like Twilight. Twilight is such a boring book to me.
For sure.
And New Moon had actual thing. I'm not as adverse to emotions in books as Knilly is. In fact, that's a part of books I enjoy. So.
I mean, I enjoy them. It's just like, I think I was just like it. Like I know I mentioned like I usually put myself in someone's shoes, but like for this one, I think I was just a little bit more frustrated. But again, like because it wasn't so matter of putting myself in my shoes and being and versus like I've been there and I don't personally want this for me again.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's like the difference here. And it's not to like discredit Bella's feelings or anyone that feels that way after breakups. That's just kind of like frustrating for me personally. So that's a me thing. That's not y'all. That's me. It's a me problem.
It's not
like
you,
a little bit more action from a book with vampires and werewolves. That's just me.
I mean, it's a YA novel.
Don't do that shit to me. We got freaking Aragon. Harry Potter's got so much fucking action. We got freaking Percy Jackson's coming back around. Like, that shit's got action. Like, no.
I think it's because the stakes are so high that if there was any action,
I guess
if someone's dying.
Yeah, for sure. I guess.
There's no halfways in this book. Yeah.
But yeah. All right.
I think that's it.
That's it. So you can join us on the Knilly Online Discord, like I mentioned, and you find links in the descriptions and wherever you're finding this to discuss the episode or ask questions before or after the show. Any comments, concerns, or anything that you want to point out. You can find the link, like I said, everywhere. The recording and past episodes can be found on our YouTube channel. Search Knilly and Pb podcast. Drop a subscribe and a like. You can also find the audio-only versions of the podcast on anchor.fm/KnillyPbPod, KNILLYPBPOD. So you can listen whenever you have all of your podcasts. New episodes go up the Friday after recording. Do I have a time? Not necessarily. When do I edit them? Who's to say? Thanks for hanging out and listening. Any last words, Pb?
I think just thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
for following on this journey.
Yeah, we're a little under halfway done with these books. Granted, I think the later tomes are a little bit thicker. So it's like a weird skew. But second book, gang. We're gonna be going on to the third in a couple of weeks. Yay, we did it! Another book in the books.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. See you on the internet. Bye.
Bye.